My name is Jetpack Jedi. I'm an Appalachian Trail thru hiker. I summited Katahdin on September 2nd of 2017, and it was the most magical experience ever. So I highly encourage you, if you have the time in your life, to attempt a thru hike. Before I started my thru hike, I watched tons of YouTube videos and just gear reviews and gear list, and some of my favorite were the gear list. It was just so much easier to watch them all day than actually go to the gym and train for hiking the trail. So I wanted to show you my system of what worked for me. It might not work for you, but you can take up bits and pieces of what you like. I will start with three most important things, or the things that I wore every day. My icebreaker wool tank top, which that is not an armhole there. This thing has more holes than a wiffle ball in it. But regardless of the weather, I always wore this every day. Very few times did I wear anything on top of this. And I just stayed moving to stay warm. But I absolutely love this icebreaker wool tank top. And then Mountain Hardwear refueler shorts, which also have quite a bit of love in patches in there. They have seen some stuff. And then the third thing is my pack itself, which is a Atmos 65 AG. Very common pack out on the trail. Very comfy. Not the lightest pack, but by the end of this video, you will clearly see I'm not an ultralighter. I did modify it with a Gossamer Gear fanny pack that I rigged to become a chest pack that I would keep quick access items and things for thermal regulation up there where I wouldn't have to stop if it got colder or started raining. And then I kept my Obaki Skoshi 3-ounce knife right here on the chest there, in case I got attacked by any wild cheese. But I definitely recommend packs by Osprey. I will probably switch to something else for a different hike just to get a little bit lighter, but they have excellent customer service, which means a lot to me. On the side of my pack, I wore my ULA rain rain kilt, which sounds way more manly. Just in case if it did start raining, I wouldn't have to take my pack off, just throw it right around my waist there and keep everything dried below. I'm gonna work my way around here. Camp shoes and fording shoes, which I didn't have to do much fording in Maine. By the time I got there, it mostly dried up. But these are Vivo Barefoot camp shoes. They don't make this model anymore, but they do have newer models, I've heard. This is the Henry Shire's tarp tent, Stratospire 1. I absolutely love this tent. A lot of space, a lot of vestibule space. This is the one person, but you could fit two. But with tents, there's always going to be a trade-off. This is a trekking pole supported, so it's not quite as quick as a freestanding tent, or convenient if you want to move it around. But at the same time, it's a little less weight. It's right over 2 pounds, not by much at all, really. And the fact that it does have kind of a large footprint, which makes it annoying if you're trying to stealth in a very small spot, which ended up never really being a problem for me. I made it work, but when you do find a spot and you get in, you're living like a king in this thing. The only thing I own by Z-Packs, and I highly recommend, is their food sack. I definitely love this thing. The slick line for hanging a bear bag is some of the best line that I've found. It makes the PCT hang super easy. Slides effortlessly through the carabiner. I went through 4 pairs of shoes during my thru hike, and these were by far my favorite shoes and favorite ultras. I did try the Lone Peaks, which were good for about 500 miles, and then I just really started developing a lot of foot pain, which is expected on any trail runner after 500 miles. But then I tried these, which even after 500 miles, they were still good, but they were much more comfy even through the 500 miles. So I definitely recommend the Ultra Olympuses over the Lone Peaks, and it is the most excellent traction on any shoe I've ever owned. The soft and hard rubber by Vibram is excellent. I paired them with Dirty Girl gaiters to keep debris out, or I wouldn't have to take my shoe off every hour and get the small pebble out. As far as socks go, I used a 3-sock system. I used 3 Darn Tough socks, all of differing thicknesses. This is an ultralight hiker, this is the light hiker, and this is a cushion hiker sock. And I would differ these each day based on weather conditions, how clean the sock was, or my general fatigue, really. On a day that was supposed to be on and off rainy, I would always wear the light hiker, or the ultralight hiker, where it would dry out throughout the day much faster than the thicker material sock, and it would prevent me from getting trench foot, you know, after several days of walking in the rain. And then the cushion hiker was great on days where my feet were just a little more sore than the day before, and they just need a little more cushion below. It makes a big difference when you're on your feet all day. And then the light hikers are just an all-around workhorse that can be used in nearly any condition, you know, a jack of all trades. I definitely, if you only had to have one sock, I'd recommend the Darn Tough light hikers. And then I would wear the Injinji sock liners underneath all the socks if I was hiking in them. And this prevented me from getting nearly any blisters on the entire trail. So I definitely love the liner system. As far as water filtration, my system was pretty basic. Sawyer Squeeze, which you're going to see a majority of people out there have, and an ever new bag, which are becoming more popular because of their durability. Probably 3 times more durable than the Sawyer bags, and probably twice as durable as the Platypus bags. I punched holes in the bottom to make this a gravity filter system, so I could just hang it up and screw on a smart water bottle to the bottom. And then at the same time, if I didn't want to wait because it's a little bit slower to gravity feed, I could just always roll it up and squeeze it too. So it just really depended if I just want to sit there and squeeze water, or if I just want to talk and, you know, eat and just hang out and not have to worry about water at the moment. But if mosquitoes always got bad, it's definitely convenient to be able to also squeeze it. This is my Chewbacca koozie that was always on the bottoms of my smart water bottles. Chewbacca was always my co-pilot in the bag. Moving on to electronics, I kept all my electronics in this Osprey roll top bag. All of my bags are waterproof. I used an interesting system where I did not use a pack cover. Nearly everyone uses a pack cover. I didn't want to use a pack cover or even a trash bag liner. It just sounded like another annoying step to take off my bag when I'm hiking on and off, if it's raining or not, or even in the morning, or if it's a few good days to, you know, even carry it around as a little extra weight. So what I did was I got comfortable with just putting everything in a waterproof roll top sack, and then I just never had to worry about if it was raining or not, and just carry a little bit of extra water weight if it did end up raining that day. As far as electronics, I carried a Anker 20,000 mAh battery bank, which was way too much, but I was too stubborn to send it back, so I just carried it anyway. It was convenient to, like, when everyone's frantically running around towns, you know, trying to get a little bit of extra charge, and the 2 hours that we're there resupplying, you know, to not have to worry, like, oh, I can make it 2 more town stops before I need to worry about charging. But definitely 20,000 is not needed. I could have gotten by with 10 and been just fine. Until the whites in New Hampshire, I sported a Black Diamond Revolt headlamp, which I absolutely loved, but I did some hiking in the rain and it got waterlogged even with the port sealed. So I was a little disappointed in that, and I had to get something quick because I was about to be in Maine, and I realized how inconvenient it is not to have a headlamp, and I bought something from Petzl, the Petzl Actic, and I liked it a lot. Not quite as much as the Revolt, but it made it to the end of the trail. So I also sported a few chargers to charge various headlamps and battery banks, and the iPhone that's taking this video now. Moving on to the gear, Osprey gear stuff sack. Just like the blue one, I'd keep this one in the opposite end, or the opposite side of the front of my bag, and always keep them in the same spot so I could quickly get things out. I'd keep small, like, repair patches and mosquito spray, and this one, clothesline hanger, so just more gear related items. A pin for signing shelter logs, just a different color just to make them stand out a little more. And then I wasn't big on actually, like, journaling myself, but I like to read, so I carried my Bible the entire trip and enjoyed reading at night. Moving on to clothing, I keep all my clothing and all the things I'm about to talk about in the Granite Gear roll top bag, which I actually like more than the Osprey waterproof roll bags, because these also include a compression stuff sack at the bottom, which was a seamless transition to put it all in, and it wasn't bulky at all. But I would keep my towels in there, which I started the trail with just one towel, but I slowly started acquiring more of these ultralight towels, and in hiker boxes. A lot of people really made fun of me based on how many towels I had, but you know what? I don't regret it really at all. Like I said, I wasn't an ultralight hiker, so it was nice if it was raining, if I was sweaty, you know, to be able to have something dry just to, you know, dry myself off with, so I'm just not sitting in the humidity all day. Icebreaker merino wool underwear. Stopped wearing these around PA because it was so hot. But it got chilly again around Vermont, especially when you're walking in the rain with no raincoat. I enjoy the wool on the undergarments. For a sleeping shirt, I always kept dry in this roll-up top sack. I used also Icebreaker long sleeve shirt. It's definitely seen its days, quite a few holes in it as well. Then I have the notorious hiker trash Frog Togs jacket, which you know, it made it. I wouldn't say it survived, you know, but it made it to the end. I think surviving is giving it a little more credit than this should get. But it was very cheap and it's lightweight. And I wouldn't, like I said before, I wouldn't wear a rain jacket when it was raining. But it was honestly just another jacket if it started to get chilly around camp that I would just throw on. So ended up being nice. Also in the clothes bag things I would keep dry was my pillow, the Aries Sea to Summit pillow. I think it's around 3 ounces, and I absolutely love that thing. My Sea to Summit silk liner. So when it got hot in PA, I sent my sleeping bag home and would sleep in this thing, which this thing was amazing. And ended up carrying this all the way through with my sleeping bag for when it got a little chilly, even in my sleeping bag back in Vermont again. And I picked up a second pair of Mountain Hardwear refueler shorts. And that was all the things that were in my roll top clothes bag that would stay dry through the whole day in my bag. And then things that would sometimes be in there, but if it was really cold, I would keep in my chest compartment for quick access, would be my 2 buffs, one of which is merino wool and one of which is Cool Max, and then my possum beanie, which New Zealand possum is absolutely, I think it's 45% merino wool and 45 possum, and the rest is like nylon or something. But this is probably my favorite piece of gear out of all my gear. Absolutely love this. But between these 3 things, regardless of how cold it was, I could hike in that tank top and those shorts, and as long as I stayed moving, I would keep warm. And as I would actually get so hot sometimes, I would be able to take this off, throw this in, then put the buff maybe over the face, and then by the buff's just kind of barely hanging on because I'm getting so hot, and then just be able to stuff them all on the sack and just keep going, you know, as I'm hot, and then my body temperature is warmed up. I don't have to worry about it. Because when I wear a rain jacket, everything would be so wet anyway that really no point in wearing one unless it was just below freezing temperatures, which I did not see any of on the trail, at least that I was awake of and hiking in. The only bag that got a lot bigger as I continued hiking was my medical bag, and I actually ran into quite a few skin conditions, just like a lot of rashes and chafing. At one time I had at least 3 different rashes on me, and it was just the humidity in the mid-Atlantic section was just absolutely miserable. But I still enjoyed it, but it just made it a lot harder to enjoy. So as many creams as I'm carrying, it looks like I'm still at day 1 on Springer, but even to the end, I had a use for every single one of these creams. I know there's quite a few here, but it was never wasted weight for me. It was something that I enjoyed having because if anything came back or most of it was persistent till the end of the trail, I could treat it, you know, and I wouldn't be in quite as much pain, you know, as I'm hiking or if the rash flares back up. Definitely another thing of constant ridicule is how much weight I was carrying for medical ingrown toenail equipment. So I struggled with a lot of ingrown toenails on the trail. I could do a whole separate video on how I operated on myself mid-trail, but I have tons of surgical grade equipment that I would have to use to cut into my toe and rip it out, and it's honestly really disgusting and pretty gross, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that for you unless you just want to hear about it, or have ingrown toenails and worried about hiking the AT. But I would recommend, now that I'm done, I plan on getting like permanent surgery and removal, but which wasn't a possibility when I was on trail because I was just busy hiking. I carry a suturing equipment just in case I had to stitch anyone or myself up. Another just few ounces of just in case something happened. Then pills for, I think it's ibuprofen, and I had doxycycline in case I got Lyme's disease, which I had a scare once, but I did not end up having Lyme's disease. And then an antibiotic, just in case. Body Glide, which is out of all the creams, the best cream there is. You know, chafing is not fun. And then I would keep all of this in this stuff sack. As far as sleeping bag, I carried a Kelty Cosmic Dry Down, rated 20 degrees. Like I said before, as soon as I got to PA, around June, it got way too hot for a down sleeping bag rated 20, for me at least. And I switched to just the silk liner. And I just slept naked in the silk liner, which was pretty comfy. In my tent, not the shelter. But yeah, I got this back in Vermont, and I was so glad I did, because I was ready to get a sleeping bag by then, because it was starting to get a little chilly in the middle of the night. I could tell you exactly when the temperature dipped below like 58 degrees. As soon as it was like 57, like, yep, I think it's 57 now. And I would keep that sleeping bag in a similar roll tops Granite Gear stuff sack like the clothes, but in the yellow one, and then store that in the bottom of the pack. My sleeping pad, I was waiting for it to like kind of die, just where I could get a lighter one and something that compresses smaller. And it does compress smaller than this, but it was just kind of convenient to keep it at this length. This is the Thermarest 40th Anniversary Edition, which is actually an excellent pad. They only made it for like 1 year. It's self-inflating, and it's very comfy. Like I said, it's not the lightest or the thinnest pad, like when compressed, the thinnest pad. But it's excellent pad as far as sleeping. I really grew quite accustomed to this pad. Then I had the AWOL Bible, which is the AWOL AT guide, which I did not use gut hooks or any other map. I just used this, and I made it to Katahdin. I did get lost probably 2 times, so I think gut hook's a great resource, but I enjoyed not having gut hook. So I kept saying I was going to buy gut hook. Like, I'd get mad, like, or I'd get lost, which is my fault, and get mad and be like, next state, I don't want to buy it now, but the next state I go to, I'm going to get gut hook. But for some reason, I just never did. Then my trekking poles are Lakey trekking poles, but I am the Jetpack Jedi, so I constructed the first ever trekking pole lightsaber, which took me quite a while to finally work out the kinks and the design, but I finally nailed it. But I absolutely love this thing, and I plan to hike other trails, and I will have to add another lightsaber to my other trekking pole. I plan on triple crowning, and I will post videos to this channel, the Jetpack Journey, and I'm the Jetpack Jedi. Thank you for watching.